Hello, and thank you for choosing my spreadsheet on Fiverr. This video will just explain how to use the spreadsheet correctly. And okay, so let's start. First of all, two disclaimers. This is not a real portfolio. These are just random numbers that I've generated so you could get a better understanding of how this portfolio tracker should look like, and that you can feel comfortable using it even before you actually put in your number. And disclaimer number two, this portfolio can look different based on which product you have chosen or based upon your specific needs that I have changed for you as a client. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is cryptocurrencies. If you do not plan to hold cryptocurrencies in your portfolio, then you do not need to do the step that I will show you in a second. Google Finance does not let you easily track cryptocurrencies. For some reason, the system is not fully developed yet. So we are using open source scripts, and I know these words may sound fancy, but basically what it is that we are using people's codes that are on the internet that allow us to track cryptocurrencies outside of Google Finance. What this means is, if I wanted to track my cryptocurrencies without doing this step, I couldn't actually do it. So that's why we need to enter the source code into our spreadsheet so that Google Finance actually understands what we are trying to do. Without further ado, let's go to the tools bar and open script editor. It's going to open the app script, and for you will probably not see any code here, maybe just a few pieces of code, but nothing too fancy like I have right here. This code has been copied from a user who has developed a crypto tracking system on the internet. This script is completely free and available on Crypto Finance. I have linked this particular website in the Microsoft Word file attached to my product. So all you have to do is just copy the code that's available on this webpage from the very first line. You just copy it down, and once you reach the bottom, line 241, get that parenthesis and control copy the whole code. Then go back to your project editor, and if you have any sort of code here, you will have to select it and delete it. I'm not going to do the step right here, I'm just telling what you have to do. So delete all the code that's in the script editor and Control V the code from Crypto Finance. Afterwards, you will have to press deploy, refresh your page, and then you are good to go. Okay, so now that we have done this step, we can finally get into how to actually work with the active portfolio. I believe this file is super easy to understand because everything that is marked in orange are the columns or rows where you need to manually put down any sort of information. And the ones that are in light or dark blue, those are just like a design feature. And all these columns and rows do the calculations for you. So one more time, everything that is in orange you have to manually put down, and everything that is in blue or other colors is being calculated for you. So first of all, let's start with cryptos. In order to track your cryptos correctly, you will have to write USD at the end of your trades. So for example, if I have Bitcoin in my portfolio, I have to write down BTC USD. And if I were to choose the BTC USD and change it to, for example, NEO USD, then you can see that down here in the current portfolio allocation, that has been changed to NEO. So pretty straightforward. I'm gonna leave it as it is. Then you put down the first investment date. This will not represent any value in further calculations. It's just for your convenience, so you know when you actually invested and how long you have held the position. Then you enter in the total shares, which are a very important measure. If I would have one Bitcoin, and if I would actually have the average buy price of $1,000, then I would be up almost $5,000, and my Bitcoin would be 84% of my total portfolio allocation. Let's jump to stocks. Well, let's change JP Morgan to Apple stock, and it's gonna change the company here for you. And then let's change the total shares, and the current portfolio allocation will change dependent on which companies you have. And let's change the total shares to 12, and you can see that and let's change the average buy price from 108 to 75. So we got Apple at a pretty decent price, and that actually brought down the investment value here. So to give you a better illustration, let's change it, the total shares to 20, and now our Apple position is 19.2%. When you check here on the allocation column, you can see that it is marked in red color. This indicates that the position size is too big for your portfolio. Of course, I can't change this for you. I've just marked that anything that's above 15% is marked red. If the total return of your stock or crypto is negative, it will be indicated in red and in brackets. Anything that's green is your total gain. The only thing that you will have to manually insert in this portfolio section of the active portfolio is the cash reserves. So if I were to change the cash reserves from 873 to 1200, again, the current portfolio allocation will change as well. Also, the overtime wealth growth will change, but we will get to that in a minute. Your total portfolio return is constantly being compared against the SP 500, NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average on the active portfolio sheet. But this is sort of an inaccurate metric. I actually have one better here, down here. But just for the sake of it, I haven't removed the old one if you want a little bit of a different view. So basically what this does is, if your portfolio, let's say the inception date for your portfolio was on the 14th of March 2020, then the total portfolio return is being calculated, as you can see right here on the top left, from your current investment value and the total invested value. So the difference between these numbers is what you have gained. Not a very good way to compare your results against these major indexes, because if you're like me and if you deploy money each and every single month into your portfolio, then it doesn't really matter if the inception date was on 14th of May. Let's imagine that you deployed $1,000 on the 14th of May, but then you deployed $1,000 in June, July, August, September, October. But this way of comparing yourself to the indexes is not accurate, because if you constantly deploy more money into your account, it's going to drive down the total portfolio return. So just keep that in mind. But don't worry, this graph is a better illustration of how well you're doing against the major indexes. Now let's go to the deposit and withdrawal history tab. And arguably, this is the most important part in the whole spreadsheet, that if you are lazy, that this will give you the most inaccurate readings of your total portfolio returns. So do not skip on this area. Really go through every single deposit and withdrawal you have had into your brokers in history, and put down each deposit and withdrawal. If you do not do this step, I cannot guarantee that you will have an accurate reading of your overtime wealth growth. Also, in this sheet, all numbers except the total value should be inserted manually. And if you have written the dates here incorrectly, the total value might be incorrect for your whole portfolio. So you have to go through each and every historic date and find a specific date when you invested money into your brokerage and ladder it down from the oldest to the newest. You can see here on the top right the total dollar value of your company is the exact number that is written down here. If you screw something up and write down a number down here, the total dollar value will not represent a number. Okay? So the only way you can accurately put down a new deposit or a withdrawal is by following the method that I will show you right now. So go to the latest row and right click it and insert one column below. Then you press on the previous column, you press on the format padding and click on number 33 in this case. Then let's, for example, think that I have opened up an M1 account. So my brokerage is M1 Finance. I made a deposit there on the 6th of February. So one day later than the trading 212 deposit. And I deposited $1,000. Then you have to write down the euro value. If you're a European, you can change this to any currency that you want to compare against. And you have to put down manually the euro, British pound, Canadian dollar, or any currency value on that particular time. I cannot automate this because the value of currencies change constantly against each other, and $1,000 can buy you X amount of euros one date and another amount of euros the other date. So right now the currency exchange is about $1.21 against the euro. So about 80%. So let's just put like 830 euros, I guess. Then you drag and drop the latest value from the G column number. And then the total value invested will be automatically updated and the total dollar value will be updated as well. Now let's hop on to the PL tracker. And I know this probably seems intimidating at first, but trust me, it's a lot easier to understand. Because remember, everything that is in orange should be manually inputted, and everything that is not in orange is being calculated for you. One exception is the open and close column. You're gonna have to change position from open to closed, but not the other way around, because after you have closed it, you will not need to reopen it again. You will just have to write down a new trade. Right here, as an example, I have an open position in ticker symbol DBX, which is Dropbox, and I bought 2.17 shares with an average buy price of $23.05. I have opened the trade on 6th of July, the first number being the date, the second one is the month, and the last one is the year. And it automatically opens a theoretic position, not only in the company which you have invested in, which is Dropbox in this case. It opens a theoretic position here, buying what it can for the value for shares of SPY, shares of QQQ, and shares of DIA. After you close the position, here, let's, for example, close the first open position for another trade that is also a Dropbox. Let's close the position, and afterwards, when you close the position, you have to write down the average close price and date of closure. So you only need to do this step once you have closed the position. So let's say that the average close price was $27 and the date of closure is today, which is the 23rd of February 2021. And I want to show you a key thing. Remember how the graph looked like in the active portfolio section, which compared our portfolio's trade results to the popular indexes? Well, now when we go back, it's not going to show you a very good information, and you're probably asking why. And this PL tracker closes the theoretic position in the ETFs and indexes that you are following based upon that specific date's close price. So if it is 23rd of February, right here where I live, which is not the United States, then I will not be able to correctly compare my results against these indexes until the market closure. So the markets are going to open where I live in 17 minutes, and they're gonna close on 11 p.m. So after 11 p.m. I'm going to get the date of closure price, and everything will be updated in the active portfolio section correctly. So I'm just gonna Control Z this, and it's gonna show the open, and now you see that everything should be fine here. You can use a filter view if you have a lot of trades. You press on the first row and you filter it, create a new filter, right? You can filter it, your trades, by date or by the ticker symbols. Let's take, for example, Alibaba, and we have a few closed trades and a few open trades. And if you want to make any changes right here, don't forget to exit the filter view afterwards, or the same problem with the graphs will appear. And right now, let's try to create a new trade the right way, and the only way that is actually going to not screw up your trade. So the same thing that was in the deposit and withdrawal history sheet, the date of investment should always be from oldest to newest. And the same procedure as in the deposit and withdrawal history sheet, you press on the latest row, insert one below, copy all the values, go to Control C, Control V, and then change the ticker symbol to, for example, Google. We got half a share of Google for the price of $1,500 on 18th of February. Of course, realistically, Google did not cost $1,500 on that date, but the system does not care in this situation. And right now, you will see that the sheet has opened a theoretic position in SPY, QQQ, DIA, and this is AVI, I believe, which I am building for a client, but let's just assume this is index number 4. As you can see, the starting values are all the same because I bought half a share of Google, which cost $1,500. And based upon the specific price that these indexes have right now, after 18th of February, these prices have been updated correctly with the latest date's close price. And that's basically all you need to understand. Again, if I close this trade and put down today's date, then you will have the same error which I showed you previously. If you put down the date before, 22nd of February, not the 23rd, you will not have the same problem. And here you go, it is updated correctly. And last but not least, the dividend calculator. This is the most straightforward thing in this whole portfolio tracker. All you need to do is input 6 specific digits. The initial investment, let's assume that we have found a company X and we want to invest $10,000 in it. So our initial investment is $10,000. Let's assume that every year we decide to buy another $1,000 worth of company X. And based upon our research, we assume that the capital appreciation will be 12% a year, and the dividend growth for the company is 8% with the current yield of 2%, and the starting price per share might be somewhere around $75. It's going to do all the calculations for you, and now if you draw down, you're going to see the illustrated dividend growth over the 30-year time period, and you can see that you're going to have a yearly dividend yield of $4,500 after 30 years. That is basically it. In the index data sheet, you do not have to change anything. There is a backup for the Bitcoin formula that is from Crypto Finance if you choose to not do the first step with the script that I mentioned in the video. But if you decide to one day hold some cryptos, you will not have to look for the formula manually. You will just need to open the link which I have provided in the Word file and copy paste the script into your spreadsheet. And thank you for choosing me once again, and I hope you a successful investment career. Thank you and bye.